Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Tyson Fury released a story on Twitter last night in which he was discussing his purported fight with Anthony Joshua. He was stating that they've basically had several offers from different locations, some in Russia, the UK, I think Qatar, and I think Saudi Arabia said as well, amongst others. So he was saying that they're kind of looking at all them. There's talks going on behind the scene, etc., etc. He obviously called AJ a dosser. Obviously, that's what he does. He calls everyone that. So he kind of came out last night and kind of said that, like, I'm paraphrasing, but worse to an extent of, the ball is rolling. Now, this fight, we've been talking about this fight for a while now. I only talked about it last night before that video was released by Tyson Fury saying, what's the crack with this fight? What's the story with it? It seems at this stage they are looking, I think they're holding out for the best fee they can get, the best side fee essentially, because they're looking to get maximum revenue from this fight, maximum money. And I think that, when I say they, I think both parties, I'm not saying it's necessarily Team Fury, Team AJ, I think that both guys want this fight, but they also want to be paid very, very well. And I think they are waiting for the biggest amount they can get before announcing this fight. All right, I think if this fight, if they said to these fighters, you're getting a flat fee, this is it, it'd probably be already done. And there was no negotiating, probably be already done, right? Maybe not necessarily flat fee, but you know what I mean? If they knew this was the max they'd get, and this was where it's going to be, it'd probably be already done. They're looking, I think, to get maximum money from side fee. We know, I think the mayor of London said that he wants to get this fight in July or August in Wembley Stadium. A lot of people have said that they want to see this fight in the UK, but they can understand why it's not. Like, even if you could have Wembley Stadium to full attendance, would it make as much money from the gate as the side fee they'd get from having it in a country like, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Qatar, etc.? It probably wouldn't, no. Team Fury have been, kind of saying this, that and the other about the fight. For me, I've said it before, I'll say it again, both parties to me want this fight. I think with Team Fury, there may be a few little worries about the inactivity, because obviously Tyson Fury has alluded to inactivity with Josh Warren and Billy Joe Saunders. I think that may play on their mind. But I definitely think with AJ, it's kind of an even playing field, because I still don't think AJ is fully recovered from the first Andy Ruiz fight. I know he beat him in the rematch. I know he had that fight with Pulev, but I think there's still a few little jitters there, so I think that kind of balances itself out. I still hold out hope that we'll see this fight next. I really do. Right, I think I talked about this before. When AJ versus Wilder was being talked about a couple of years ago, now obviously at the time I wasn't making YouTube videos, but I remember looking at videos on that, reading, reports they were doing on it, and I never really, for some reason I was always just like, that fight's not going to happen. On either end I was just like, that fight's not going to happen. I could never really envision that fight taking place. Right? And even though I would have liked to have seen it, I could never really envision that taking place. But this one here, I can. And I do actually still believe that we are going to get this next. Now, if we're talking about a date in July, you would imagine that kind of May time would be kind of the limit to announce it. Because obviously they'd want at least about 2 months of PR, of marketing, just to get this fight. It doesn't really need selling necessarily, but for the bigger fights, the really big fights, they really want to try and market the crap out of them. They really want to go in and be like, yep, this, that, and the other, shows, all that kind of stuff. They really like doing that, and the longer you leave it, like from the moment you announce it to then, the more you have to kind of chuck, like, 30 days before a fight, documentaries, etc., etc. They love all that kind of stuff. So for me, you would imagine if it's happening in July, which likely it could, then you would imagine an announcement sometime in May. I genuinely thought we might get it on the White Povetkin undercard, because, like I said, it's a big event, and normally with big super fights, and this would be a super fight, they tend to announce them on big shows. They don't tend to just chuck an announcement out there. AJ Klitschko was a good example. They announced that immediately after AJ fought Eric Molina. So all eyes were on that show. That was when they announced it. So automatically, you were just like, holy, AJ versus Klitschko is going to be on this date, you knew. So I think they're going to do something like that for Fury AJ. Can't see them just announcing it like breaking news on Sky Sports. Here it is. They're probably going to wait for an event or something like that. As I said, if it's happening in July, I would imagine May time would be kind of the limit where you want to announce. In fact, definitely it's going to be the limit you want to announce it. would I be surprised if this fight takes place next, but it doesn't necessarily take place in July? That wouldn't shock me, to be honest with you. If they're looking to hold it, see, that doesn't benefit Fury because it's more time out of the ring, but it wouldn't necessarily shock me if they are, like, I don't say struggling, but if they are in negotiations for a site fee and it is being drawn out, I could easily see them pushing it back a month or two, easily, you know. And if it does take place, say for example in Dubai or Saudi Arabia in the summer, it's probably going to be indoors because you would not want to be putting two heavyweights out in the heat. Now it'd probably be at night time, but still it's going to be very, very humid over there. So that's what I'm just thinking on that. In terms of this fight, like I said, I hold out hope that we're going to get it next. From what Tyson, you always take what Fury says with a pinch of salt, but for this, I do genuinely believe that there is talk with other countries. Eddie Hearn has mentioned it, and I do think we are getting there. We're getting every little bit closer. It may be snail's pace, it may be baby steps, but I genuinely think we're getting there in terms of getting this fight over the line. It's just a case of hearing where it's going to be and when it's going to be announced. That's the kind of next thing. But if we hear that, you know, there's been a site agreed, they might not necessarily say where it is, but if we hear that, it should be announcements soon after. I'm not going to say straight after, but soon after. So that's my thoughts. I want to see this fight. You know, if we get this fight from Undisputed in 2021, holy, you know what, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. It's a good fight as well. Like, I struggle to see this fight being anticlimactic, if you know what I mean. Because you know, a lot of big fights, really big fights, you think about them, you hype them, and sometimes they don't live up. This one's not one of them. I think that we'll see drama in this fight. I think this is a fight that's going to be good one way or the other. You know, no matter who wins, we're going to have a good fight. So that's why I want to see it. That's why I want to say there's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of intrigue about this fight. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Did you see the video Fury uploaded? What are your thoughts on this fight? Yeah, just in a whole, what's your thoughts on it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, of course, if you're new. We're getting closer and closer to 4K. We want to get there soon. Hopefully, if we can by the end of the month, fingers crossed. Lads and lassies, for now, I'll talk to you. Obviously, we have Conor Ben on later, so you'll probably see me then. I'll talk to you then. Peace.